we're welcome to Hacking Uncertainty. Here we are with our two guests. This is our third in a series, our first one for 2021. Here we are, and it is the 14th of January of 2021. Although some people actually think it's December 45th, 2020, because very few things have changed. Well, I don't know about that, but in any case, here we are. I'm really happy to have these two guests with me, and maybe we can start, ladies, by having a quick introduction. We'll start with you, Nathaly.
Yeah, I'm Nathaly from Caracas, Venezuela, 20 years old, a Gen Z. I was an Upkey participant, proud participant, and now a GVC participant as well.
All right, great. Thank you. 20 years old, Gen Z from Caracas, Venezuela. Welcome. Thati, your turn.
All right, I'm Thati. I'm from South Africa. I'm 27, so I'm a millennial. And I have just graduated from IE. And yeah, that's who I am.
Okay. All right, ladies. So I'm first going to ask a few questions to one of you, and then we're going to have then the next time I'm going to go back to the second one of you. And then when we're both finished with a couple of questions, I'm going to have you both come back and we're going to have a general discussion. This is about uncertainty and some of the uncertainty challenges that we've had in our lives, both personal and professional, and how we've managed to excel and manage the uncertainty in our lives. So Thati, we'll come back to you in a few minutes. All right, Nathaly. So Nathaly, you're 20 years old and you've already, I met you in the Upkey program. And you were a standout there. When I saw you working in your team, I could see that you were full of energy, full of determination, ambition. I saw a lot of ambition in you. And now, a few weeks later, I see you applying to the GVC program, which is Global Venture Catalyst, which is about technology students teaming up with MBAs, working on a technology problem for a couple of weekends in a row. And again, I was really surprised to see you there and, to see some of the work you're doing. You've really come a long way. At 20, you're really it's like bring it on. Anything that you see out there that could be exciting, you get involved in. But I'm sure that that's not how you started as a young lady. Tell me more about you growing up. What made you have so much determination?
Well, when I was younger, this was the typical case of someone who was chubby and who felt super insecure about her appearance. I remember my I was fat. I was a fatty girl, and I remember my classmates calling me names, associating me with some animals, and so the way that I had to get recognized and to feel better about myself, about my identity, was to get good grades. And I started being the good student. I preferred this because it was easier than to improve my appearance at the moment or lose weight. It was way easier.
Getting good grades is easier than losing weight, huh?
At that point, yeah, it was better for me to spend 5 hours a day studying a particular subject and understanding the pattern or how to get good at it than to lose weight or stop eating my candies. So, yeah.
All right. So you were top of your class when you were young.
Yes. And that was the reason why I started with that idea, with being the top of my class. It wasn't super special. But after some time, when I wanted to quit that identity, I felt the pressure and the expectations around me. All my classmates were super surprised if I had a 10 out of 20. And that feeling made me feel so uncomfortable that I couldn't get out of that identity. And at some point, it became just a habit. It was automatic. I didn't have to think about it. I was falling prey to the expectations of my teachers and colleagues.
So I can see that later you managed to lose weight, and even after you lost weight and became pretty thin, you were still getting good grades.
Yes, it was just part of my identity, and there was something else. Getting good grades or being good at something makes you get more things, and the more you get, the less the more you get, the more thirsty you get, the hungrier you get about that. And so I couldn't feel satisfied after some time, and being the top of my class wasn't enough anymore. And I started participating in everything that I could find. And since my high school is a technical one, that was technology oriented by nature or technology related programs, I was in there.
So let's talk about uncertainty. You live in Venezuela. Obviously, I think most of us know that Venezuela is going through a lot of political uncertainty there. It must not be easy to live there day by day. So you live a lot of uncertainty, probably locally, but also as a young person, growing up. How did you deal with uncertainty? How do you deal with it today?
Well, there is the thing is you don't go and fight with lions because you feel like fighting with lions or like dealing with uncertainty for no reason, just to feel the anxiety. You don't put yourself in danger for no reasons. There's always a need, and the way to deal with uncertainty is by focusing on why are you going behind? Why are you going after that? Why are you putting yourself in such a difficult situation? You have to think about, is it because these situations, this position will probably get you to a better place? Is it because what you're going after is more meaningful than what you're going through? The price is high, but the value of the team you want is higher. For example, if your family is not getting enough food, if you cannot supply them with food, if you cannot support them financially and your mother is struggling, believe me, it won't matter if you get embarrassed, if you get humiliated. It doesn't matter how difficult the situation is. If you focus on your mother and on the value of that alone, you will deal with uncertainty without fearing that much. You'll feel uncomfortable, but the feeling will be just that, just something you can manage and take advantage of.
So really what you're saying is that when you know clearly what you want and what you want to accomplish, it's a lot easier to manage fear.
And if that matters enough, because if you want a candy, it's that's not strong enough for you to put yourself in such a difficult situation. It's not enough for you to quit your job.
So
But if there
you need to want it bad enough.
exactly, and you need to see that the current situation is not acceptable anymore. You need to have a different standard and see, okay, if I risk this, I will lose this and this and this. But if I don't, can I afford to stay in this at this point in my life? Can I afford to stay in this city, in this community, in this problem? Can I afford to see my mother struggling? So that's when you don't know the final outcome, but you know for sure that the current situation is not what you want. That's enough for you to go after something else, even if it's not likely for you to get the expected result.
Okay. Natalie, let's talk a little bit about your generation, because clearly you're not the average Gen Z, right? So how how do you see your generation? How would you? I mean, when you look at your generation, do you see as much ambition in general as the one you have about life?
I see the same potential for sure. It's with me. It's not that I am super special or talented. It's that because I put myself in difficult situations, I could get a different identity out of me, and I could get more out of my potential. And I feel that with my generation, what's happening is they can do a lot of things, but because they don't ask the questions or don't have proactivity, they cannot, let's say, take advantage or get what they want. So for me, it's not that they lack potential or that they don't have the values. It's more about having proactivity or asking questions to verify that sometimes we are so wrong about many things. We are wrong about older generations, and we are wrong about what we need to have in order to get something else. Sometimes the answer is so simple, but because we are not asking, it's impossible to know that's the way.
So you think the Gen Zs need to put themselves out there more and they need to ask more?
Yeah, just more proactivity. They have the values, they have, in most cases, the resources. We have more resources than previous generation, and we have the support from several communities, including ours. We just
Have
need to
you,
have more proactivity.
has this always worked for you? Have you ever had experiences where you've asked for help or asked people and they've turned you down?
Um, Really, not exactly, but I would like to talk about one particular experience when I asked about something and I got a response that definitely changed everything. And this was when I was working as a programmer here in Venezuela for a marketing agency. I was concerned about managing my finances in a more efficient way. And I just told the head of finance, hey, let's have a meeting to discuss about this. And he was helping me. But at some point he said, Natalie, I don't think it's enough for you. I don't think you should worry about managing your finances if you're earning $60 a month. I think you should at least earn $500 for you to worry about it. And this is completely unrelated. I was trying to manage my finances better, and he got me this answer. I'm sure he didn't intend to make me feel less, but the answer I was looking for turned into something completely different, and I realized I'm so far away from $500 right now. How can I earn more? How is it possible? And without asking these questions, I will never consider working with international clients. So this is important. Sometimes we have questions and we don't get answers that are related to it. We get something else. And that's the beauty of uncertainty. Sometimes we don't know what we need, and the uncertainty is letting us know, hey, this is not what you need. This is what you need. And that's how
Okay,
you verify what's wrong and what's right in your life at the moment.
great. Fascinating stories, Natalie. Thank you. So I'm going to bring Tati now for a few minutes and then we'll come back and have a discussion with the three of us. Tati,
Yes, Paris.
so $50 a month. Can you relate to that? $50 a month? Um,
Definitely, I can relate to that.
right. So
In more
Tati,
ways than
tell
you
us
can
a bit
imagine. Yeah.
about yourself, your younger life, and how you dealt with uncertainty.
All right. So growing up, I have a mother who is very comfortable with uncertainty. Just to give you an indication, she changed schools. I changed schools so many times. She changed jobs and locations a lot. We moved a lot as children. So I have been in 7 schools just alone. Primary
Oh,
schools are about 6. So I've been quite not unstable. I wouldn't say unstable, but I've been in an uncertain situation for a very long time. And in high school, then we moved to Singapore for a while. And I remember that was the first time that I got told that I need to go to an international school, for example, and not a public school, because public schools are more difficult to adapt and it's harder to follow up with the curriculum. But I told myself, well, I want the challenge, and I insisted on doing so. But I don't think it would have been possible without the experience I had growing up, with the many job changes that my parents went through, with the many relocations we've gone through. And the job changes are also very significant. I have experienced having a lot and having nothing at all, yeah, where it was just really tough growing up. And okay, so I attended high school then in Singapore, and then I had to go back home in 2011 because my mom got retrenched. And that was a very tough time for us because that's when she decided to go into business full time. and not pursue full-time job anymore. And obviously going into business, it takes a while for it to be profitable. So I had to then at some point work about 3 jobs to just put myself through my undergraduate degree, which was also a very trying time for me. Yeah.
So you have no fear of uncertainty, right?
No, I don't have fear of uncertainty at all, but it didn't start there, I must say.
Yeah.
With
Would
uncertainty.
you say that dealing with uncertainty is like going out of your comfort zone? And the more you go out of your comfort zone, the more comfortable you are out of your comfort zone. So it's like a muscle in a way.
Yes, definitely it's a muscle. So because there was so much uncertainty growing up, I seeked stability with everything in me. So I wanted a full-time job and I wanted absolute security, which is a good thing, but it's I would say it also is not a good thing because it came from a place of living in uncertainty. So I was limiting my options because I just wanted to be in control of everything. And then I realized that it's not sustainable. But the fortunate thing is I was placed in uncertainty due to my circumstances. It wasn't a choice. So you end up growing resilience in it, which does help later on in life. But personally as well, I have thrown myself in situations where it was quite tough and I had to grow because I wanted to grow personally. So for example, I took on a leadership of a student commune where students came from different backgrounds as well, and first-year students, and I was leading a group of those students. I was young. My confidence wasn't very big yet, but yet I dived into those situations. I had to deal with conflicts. I remember one parent looked at me and said, "Are you going to be the student leader who's going to be in charge of our students, taking care of them? You're so tiny. Can you even do it?" And I thought it's quite bold of you to say to say that to my face. I'm already nervous and you're telling me already that I can't do it. But then at the end of the day, I did end up growing based on the situations that I threw myself in. So now it's something that I seek on a continual basis.
Okay, so you went from having to deal with uncertainty to seeking more certainty in your life, and now you see much more opportunity and uncertainty again.
Yes, definitely. I mean, just to give you an indication, from wanting a very stable job, now I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to work in accelerators, for example, where I see different types of entrepreneurs come in, where you don't even know what challenge you're going to get. You're just going to get a challenge from a certain team and you have to deal with it. Because I just realized how much growth that is and how much of a thrill that is as well. And when you're going through something with people, uncertainty also, when you're doing it with someone else, it sort of builds you as a person, and also the relationship as well. It makes it more fulfilling because it creates memorable moments. It creates something you can look back to and stories that you can tell. So a sense of fulfillment, if I can call it that.
Amazing. Okay. And now you've done your master's at IE, right? Master's in management? What master's have you done?
I've just done a master's in management, which I must say as well, it was for me to enter the program in the beginning. It was also another story where I had to challenge my circumstances, because I remember looking for the program and I saw it and I looked at the fees and I started laughing because I thought this is going to be impossible. Just 3 jobs to find a South African degree. What more a European degree with the fees that I have to work? But nonetheless, I continued attending IE events and I continued seeking scholarship opportunities until I was awarded one that's given to 2 South Africans a year. So it was a remarkable achievement. And even though I felt I didn't meet the requirements, I still decided to push, because the philosophy I live by is any system that is man-made can be broken. If you knock on the door hard enough, some door is bound to be open. The windows, bang everything down. Something is bound to be open.
System that is man,
that's what happened. Yes.
Broken, huh? That's a good one to remember. I like that. I always tell my students, I have a different spin on that. Since I've come to Spain, I picked up a saying here that I think is really interesting. That is, el que no llora no mama, which means the baby that doesn't cry doesn't get any milk. And that's the same thing. That's very true. People don't ask, I see this. And I can see this with Nathaly and with you. You guys are like born askers. If you see a door, you walk through it all the time, right?
No, that is true. And it's not easy. I must say, with questions, I'm an inquisitive person. Everybody who's taught me or any friends of mine who know me personally, they know that I ask 101 questions. But also, it's not that I'm not afraid to ask it, because you do go through your mind and think, is this a stupid question? Should I not ask this? And it does take guts to ask it. But at the end of the day, what gets me going is, I think, fine, I might seem stupid to someone for 2 seconds, but people have so many problems in the world. They're not going to be going home reflecting on the stupid question you asked. They will be back thinking about their problems. And at the end, what I'm going to benefit from it is I'm going to have an answer and I'm going to grow from it. So it's 2 seconds of embarrassment for a lifetime of growth, which I've decided to pursue. So I am comfortable asking any question that seemed stupid or seemed smart, and it has benefited because I've grown from it as well.
That's great. I love that. There's no such thing as a stupid question, because you're going to grow from it. And the 2 seconds of embarrassment is worth the investment, right?
Definitely.
I don't believe that there's a lot of embarrassment in stupid questions, because there really aren't that many stupid questions. So now you're doing your extension at IE. You decided even to stay longer. Why?
Yes, I decided to do so because firstly, it's the wealth of information that you get from the lecturers that you interact with, and also the entrepreneurial community, because when you're surrounded by like-minded people who are wanting to achieve something greater than themselves, you tend to want to embody that as well. And that's what I've experienced growing up as well. Through the hardships that I've gone through, I have made sure that I surround myself with people who understand it and who will push me through it. And it just gets you going. So that's one of the reasons that I've decided to stay and do the extended program.
Great. Well, I look forward to spending more time with you, Tati, while you're here for the next 6 months. All right, let's bring Nathaly back into the conversation here. Look, Nathaly was actually working during that. It's not surprising. That's all she does. She can't lose any more weight, so now she's working. All right. So,
guys, I will remember this for our next meeting.
Okay. All right. So now I want to bring this to a head. You know, the last time I interviewed a Gen Z, she said to me, "You know what, Professor? Millennials and baby boomers, they don't really care about Gen Zs. They say they do, but they don't care about us." So, Nathaly, you've got here a perfectly sound, average millennial. Well, I wouldn't say she's average. But you have a millennial here, and you've got a hell of a baby boomer. Although, you know, as my students like to say, I'm actually a millennial trapped in the body of a baby boomer. But you can treat me as a baby boomer today, because I am 60 years old. So let's talk about this. Do you actually think that we don't care? What experience have you had? And why do you think your generation, if you don't feel that way, why do you think your generation in general feels we don't care? Nathaly?
Okay, with me, it happens a lot, and I see this with my classmates, the good ones, the outstanding students, the bad students, everyone. When we are working with someone who is in some way superior or better than we are, and this is always for the seniors, we want to prove ourselves. We want to prove we are capable enough, and we try not to ask for help, because that means we are weak or that we don't know, and we are not aware that actually we are supposed to let them know what's wrong and that they are expecting us to have problems and to be stuck with something. And that's the misunderstanding. It happened to me that at some point I couldn't hide or pretend anymore that I was okay or that I was completely clear with the task. And I told him, hey, how can you do this? How can you expect me to do so much when I'm struggling, when I'm working 8 hours a day with this, when I'm studying? And he said, well, I don't know. I didn't know that. If I knew, I will have help. And this is what usually happens. It's just a misunderstanding. They don't know about our needs, about our struggles, and we just assume they don't care. And we just assume we are supposed to prove ourselves with them instead of seeing them as someone helping us or mentoring us. Now with my employers, I feel that the best thing you can do if you're from a different generation is to expect a lot from us. And even if we don't say we are struggling with something, to let us know you're here to support us with this task. To let us know it's not a competence. It's not me against yourself trying to prove I'm better than you at computer science. It's I think that's the best you can do, to expect a lot from us.
Okay. So Tati, you've probably been around some Gen Zs in your life, right?
Yes, my younger sister is one.
Oh, your little sister. All right. So what do you think? Do you agree that not enough Gen Zs actually reach out? I mean, what Nathaly is actually saying is that most Gen Zs don't realize that they can ask, that they should ask. They should be more proactive, right, Nathaly?
Yes, and that we don't have to prove ourselves with them. We
Yeah.
know we're supposed to fail at some point.
Okay. What do you think, Tati?
Okay. It's actually quite ironic that we see you not asking for help as a sign of pride and wanting to do it yourself. And someone who asks is someone who's willing to learn. So you're also not open to learn. That's what we associate not asking with. So I understand where the conflict happens. And I think also because as millennials, we care so much about making a difference and making an impact. Gen Zs tend to not follow that trajectory all the time, or maybe they have it in a different way, or they embody it in a different way because they're not so vocal about it. It's more of let my actions do the talking, let me not do the talking. So that then doesn't come through for us, and then I see where the conflict does happen. But I must say, with
So
my sister, it's also a challenge where you don't ask for help, and then you ask for help when you are dying. But why are you not? We are here to teach you, but we also want to impart something in you. And if we can't do that, if you don't take our advice because you're going to do it on your own, it's just seen as, okay, clearly you want to do it on your own, and I will back away and then just let you suffer.
can you relate to that, Nathaly?
Yes, I feel sometimes we expect them to be our saviors and know what's going on. That's me sometimes with my employers. I expect them to know I'm struggling with this code, and they are not our saviors, but they will be willing to help if you let them know we need it.
Yeah. And if I can say from the baby boomer perspective, we look at Gen Zs as living in another world, is what I've heard from different people, with different rules. I mean, technology, all that, and they're not very vocal. It's what you guys were saying. Gen Zs, they're not vocal about what's important for them, and they're not vocal about any help that they need. Millennials are very different, as you said, Tati. Millennials spend all day being vocal. We care. We want a job that has impact. Money is not the most important thing. We want to make a difference. We want to have a purpose in our lives. I hear that all day with millennials. And it feels great. As a baby boomer, I'm thinking, that's great, because my generation, we were just interested in making money. And the money that we took, we would live the lives that we wanted to live. But in a way, we live to work to an extent, especially in America. But I think millennials are very vocal about this. And when I look at Gen Zs, I see Gen Zs as more interested in, they don't need to get a great job, a job that has like so much purpose. They want a job that allows them to do what they want to do. Not that because they don't care, because not everybody has to care about, making an impact on the world, like millennials seem to think for the most part. But I do see that, if we need to take something away from all of this today as advice to Gen Zs, is you need to be a lot more vocal. You need to be a lot more vocal about everything. What's important to you, when you need help. I mean, you two ladies are a great example of, taking life by the horns and saying, I want to get this done, and nothing's going to stand in my way. Right? So, why don't we wrap this up? How about some part, and we're going to open it up to a few questions. Nathaly, what are some parting advice for not just Gen Zs, but for people in general, based on your experience with dealing with uncertainty?
Okay, sometimes we think that when we are staying in our comfort zone, we are playing the safest game ever. And that's actually the complete opposite. Because when you are getting out of your comfort zone and when you're trying something new, you are actually making yourself prepare for more opportunities earlier. And if you're failing right now, in the future it will be easier for you uh, to get certain outcome because you are ahead of the others who are afraid to try something else. And it's don't make it personal. Don't make it about your value as an individual. Know that if you're not reading any books, you're not supposed to be good at writing. And if you're not writing every day, if you're not reading every day, how are you expecting to write like Shakespeare? Understand that if you at the same time practice one thing for a long period of time, maybe you won't be as experienced with months, but you will be definitely better than today. It's completely impossible for you not to improve even one word learned if you're really, I don't know, bad at at keeping things, at remembering things. But understand that you will make progress and that the current situation won't be better than that of trying because you're always getting something else.
Okay, good. Thank you. Tati?
All right, I like what Nathaly said when she said you have to do something about it. You can't just sit and wait for it to happen. Yes, with also uncertainty, for you to grow that muscle, to be comfortable with it, you need to do something. You need to set something measurable to work towards. But one thing that I can advise people is some of us had no choice to learn how to deal with uncertainty. Life just threw us in it, and it was fear that either drove us to grow or to deal with the situation, or it was maybe a positive mindset. But sometimes it is just plain fear. In my case, I was afraid of if I don't work, what's going to happen. So I don't want to say we've been fortunate, but yes, life happened and we learned how to deal with it. But also being in IE and in an environment where people tend to be more on the privileged side, they might not have encountered as many situations to throw them in those to throw them in an to throw them in a situation where they learn how to deal with uncertainty. So I would advise that if life didn't force it on you, you need to seek it out by putting yourself in situations where you're out of your comfort zone and you are challenged. So it could be anything. You personally know what it is that you can do and what you're not comfortable with. So it can be a small thing as even if it's volunteering or speaking up or um, joining a club, something that you know you're not naturally inclined to do. Those are the small steps that force you to grow and force you to deal with something where you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what question is going to be thrown at you. For example, me doing this is something still out of my comfort zone, and it's an area of growth because I am still growing in my self-confidence. So I do get nervous at times. And I thought the more I expose myself to situations like this, I will eventually become better. And there's no embarrassment. No one is perfect. So the more you expose yourself to these situations, the more comfortable you will be at it. And another thing a friend of mine taught me in school, which really helped me get through the MEM program, was she said 80% of work done is fine. So you don't have to, the whole perfectionism thing sort of holds you back, or you wait for the right time or the right moment. But if you can do something and it's 80% well done, it's okay. You can leave it and move on to the next thing. Don't hold on to something and wait for that to be complete first, because then you'll be holding yourself back.
Well said. All right. Well, I can tell you guys, there was no embarrassment today. You both did really well, and I'm glad if you think that you're learning from this, because we are. And at the end of the day, all these programs, whether it's doing a MIM at IE or the extension or the Upkey program that is for inner city kids, Gen Zs, or the GVC program for technology kids, all these programs pull you out of your comfort zone. It's a muscle that you're growing, and it's going to make you look better on your CV when you go out there looking for a job. People want to see people with ambition. They're willing to go out there and stand in the traffic. I mean, not literally, but stand in the traffic in terms of doing things. So, okay, I think we have a little bit of time for some Q&A here. I have a note here that I wanted just to talk about. Daniel Gatura is saying that the issue is not that you think you know us, but you barely do. You generalize Gen Z, yet we are individually different. What do you think, Nathaly?
Yes, it's absolutely. The problem is we always belong to several groups. For example, in my case, I belong to the group labeled as women. I belong to the group labeled as young. I belong to the group labeled as Gen Z. And we have to recognize that our generation, for the environments and for the variables that we have at the moment, indeed have some traits in common. We do have characteristics in common by design, by nature. It's logical. It doesn't mean I'm lazy and destined to be lazy just because that's what my generation says. It's just a tendency that I have because of the experiences I'm prone to have according to this age and to this generation. It's not that it defines you. You just have to be aware of the characteristics you might be prone to develop or share with others. It's not your identity.
Okay. Tati, you want to add to that?
Yes, I must say I do admit that we are guilty of labeling you as the things that you've mentioned. I think it's also because with boomers, I'm speaking on their behalf, and maybe millennials, we feel that we have a right because we've maybe suffered or we've gone through life, and you guys have everything easy and technology. Once again, it's an assumption I'm throwing. So we also want you to have a right of passport to do something, which is actually wrong. It shouldn't be the case. It should be us trying to seek to understand and ask you what are the challenges that you are facing, and then also inviting you to our world, that we come from a place where if you are not making a difference, then this is how we see the world. So it's hard for us to sympathize with someone who just wants a good job, wants to be comfortable, and that's life. We see it totally opposite, and it's not a bad thing. It's just different. So I think more dialogue needs to happen between the multi-generations, where we actually have a cap on, where we just seek to firstly understand and then see where we can meet each other, instead of just throwing generalizations that you're not hardworking or you've got life easy and you should ask us. We're the ones who have suffered, because the things you're complaining about, we also complained about from the baby boomers. They don't take us seriously. They think we're lazy. They think we're entitled. And so we're all crying here. And I'm sure they've got complaints from the generation before them. So if we're all having complaints, why can't we just stop and understand where we are and have those type of dialogues than trying to prove why we think we're the better generation or the harder working generation? It's actually quite funny that we've experienced it, yet we inflict it on the next generation. So it's something that as a Gen Z as well to look out for with the next generation coming forward, and be open to the differences that they might have.
Well said. I totally agree. And I have to admit, though, and I'm sure you guys would all admit, that now during COVID, Gen Z doesn't have it easy. They're probably suffering the most, because you had your Gen Z days, Tati, and you could go out and you could be with people. And now what Gen Zs are going through with this whole COVID thing is bad. Is really bad. But yeah, I think that there needs to be more communication amongst generations. And that's part of our objective here with Hacking Uncertainty, is to start more of this communication so that we can all learn to manage uncertainty in our lives better and have more impact. So with that, last couple of words, Nathaly, before we go.
Yes, I believe the mentality is: do you prefer the certainty of losing above the possibility of winning? Because if you stay there, you know one thing for sure: you're going to lose. You're going to stay in that place when you don't feel satisfied. So that would be my question for them.
Okay, Tati, you want to have a shot at that?
Yes, in South Africa, South Africa has gone through a lot of hardships. We still it's a new democracy, and a lot of the way we've dealt with hardships is through humor. So mine is more on a light note that it's fine to laugh at yourself, or it's fine to laugh, even if you have to seek situations where you can let loose and relax a bit, because life is tough, and those moments are very critical and they need it. So make sure that you do seek out the opportunities where you can just have a laugh at yourself or at the environment and just relax a bit, and also just ask questions. It's not that deep. There's a saying that we're saying, but it's really not that deep. So don't take yourself too seriously all the time, and really enjoy it. I think that's one thing I've learned from Gen Zs. You know how to enjoy life unapologetically. So I think that's something we should do more of, especially as times are hard, because we do struggle. So where you can enjoy, where you can laugh, Gen Z it all along, all the way.
Okay. And I think on that note, I would like to also wish those baby boomers watching the show that you should also relax a bit and not take life too seriously and laugh at yourself once in a while. All right, ladies, this has really been a pleasure. I want to thank you both for joining me at such short notice, and keep doing what you're doing. Keep asking. There's no such thing as, embarrassing moments that are not worth it. So with that, I want to say goodbye to everybody and thank you very much for joining us today. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joyce. Bye.